Well, it is time for the Daily SitRep, and I'm a lot later than I thought I was going to be today. I've been on the phone all morning. It's been one of those weeks. So I have a extended family member that's been in been in the ICU for over a month with basically hardened lungs, and it's the exact same issue that Sam Faddis had, and he's actually showing signs of improvement right now, which is a positive sign. But he's been on an ECMO machine. If you don't know what that is, they oxygenate your blood through a machine in the hopes that your lungs are going to recover. It looks like his are, but they originally thought that it was an infection, and then they assessed that it was likely a chemical exposure. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it has something to do with the vaccine, and it has something to do with being boosted, because everyone I know that's gotten the shot, and then trust me, I'm sure all of you have had this experience too. I lost friends during the pandemic. I lost friends because I wouldn't get jabbed, and I had friends tell me, "You're not welcome in our house until you get a vaccine," and I'm like, "Okay, got a thing, love you, out." And I made that decision early on. In all fairness, as soon as they came out and started saying things like trust the science, I knew right then on this is all horseshit, all of it, every bit of it. And anyway, so been working around trying to get medical bills figured out for my family, and you know, you can do the math on how expensive it is to have somebody in ICU for a month. It's probably going to be $1 million out of pocket just to keep him alive. So, um, you know, it's just one of those things where you're watching people get sick and they don't have any. There's no correlation between why they're sick and the jab they took. So, in his case, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and he's literally salt of the earth, like helps everybody, and yeah, so good guy. I pray for his recovery, but if you took the jab, I'm just going to tell you this right now: start taking ivermectin, and you can buy it in the injectable form and throw it in a drink. Throw 1 ml in a drink, and do that for like 3 months. I guarantee you, you're probably not going to have as many issues as you did before, because it does a good job of managing the spike protein. There's some other detox. Pete Chambers posted a detox protocol about 3 years ago, and I think it's still up on his website. I'll have to search for it. I can't remember what his website is, but he's got a detox protocol. So if you are vaxxed, there are things you can do to get the spike protein, and that to me is where the biggest issue arises, right? Because the spike protein shows up in people's, in the ovaries and the testicles and all your major organs. Yeah, it just stays in the arm. God, the level of bullshit during the pandemic and the level of bullshit that has gone unanswered, and just the abject lies by the pharmaceutical companies is unbelievable. So anyway, long story short, I've been busy dealing with that all morning, actually all afternoon. So and as soon as I get off the phone, I'm going to jump back on the phone and deal with that too. So yeah, so there's that. Trump is in Camp David this weekend. They're doing an off-site, closed door, off-camera cabinet meeting, which anytime these things happen usually means there's going to be either an escalation in the war, there's going to be some major decision. My guess is, if I was a betting man, it would be about the draft, because he was supposed to be presented with options for the draft in 2 weeks, but I'll bet you he's moved that timeline up. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. We probably won't know anything for a couple of months. Well, we maybe a couple of weeks. We'll see. So, um, free. You can get, if you order ivermectin, it's called Novomectin, is what it's called. You can get it. I got mine through Veterinary Supply. I'll post. In fact, I'll do this free. I'll look up the liquid, but you can buy it at any Tractor Supply, any ranch and feed, any of the tax stores. You should be able to buy that, and you can either buy the paste. So I have both the paste and I have the liquid form ivermectin, the injectable form. Don't get the pour over because you can't drink that stuff. No, that'll make you sick. Get the injectable or get the paste, and the paste is like got a weird. It's got a weird smell to it, but you can rub that on your skin and it does the same thing. So I have both here. I use it. You'd be surprised what it does wonders for. So, but any Tractor Supply or ranch and feed store, you should be able to get it. And you don't need a prescription. You can just buy it over the counter. And you can buy the 180 ml or the bigger bottle. I think it's 1 liter. And it'll last you. I have one that's lasted me like 2 years. So it doesn't go bad. You just pull the cap off of it. And in fact, I'll tell you what, free, I'll do a video and I'll post it to Substack so you can grab it out there with all the links. I'll do that. In fact, I'll do that this weekend. So, and then one of the other places you can get antibiotics and you can get, is like, if you go out to like Fish Mocks, or you go out to any of the veterinarian supply, you can order amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin. You can order doxycycline. I will warn you though, if you're over like 30, doxycycline is not going to do anything for you. It's good under 30. Over 30, you do better with Cipro, but you got to be careful with Cipro because it has a tendency to weaken your Achilles tendon and a few other tendons in your body. I don't know that. I don't remember all the correlation and all of the PDR notes on that, but when I read the physician's desk reference on it, it's been years ago now, there was a big story because they were giving me Cipro for an infection that wouldn't go away when I came back from the desert. So naturally I wanted to know everything I could find about it. But you can buy over the counter, and it's the same pill form. Exact same pills that we take are what the veterinary supply sells, and you don't need a prescription for it. So, and they last about 3.5, 4 years. So they say it's like 2 years, but whatever. If you keep it in a cool place and you don't let it get overly hot, you can usually stretch it about 4 years. So, but I'll post those links out there so you know where to get all this stuff. And I'll post some pictures to you so you know what you're looking for, not just what the link is. I think Amazon still sells the paste form of ivermectin, but I will warn you, if you shop around, you can usually get that stuff at a discount through a veterinarian supply that's cheaper than Amazon. Same with some of the water filters and water filtration stuff, like the swears that Troop turned me on to. Those suckers are $17 at Amazon, and if you have a dealer account with Sawyer, they're like $22. So shop around is my point, because you can spend a lot of money. And all of those mail order ivermectin pill ordering places, you're going to pay like $4 a pill, whereas the liquid form is like $180 and you get a liter of it. So yeah. It's not fish amoxicillin. It's amoxicillin that you got for fish, which is the same pill that all of us take. So yeah, it's 250 milligrams. You take it in the morning, you take it at night. Yeah. So yeah, and by the way, if you're curious to see what the dosage is, you can go out to there's an online PDR out there, physician's desk reference, and you can look up what the dosage is. So you can even ask, I think you can even ask Grok, and Grok will tell you what it is. So my advice is there's three things you want written down, three things you want printed, and if you can laminate them so that they don't get attacked by weather. One is a radio frequency card. If you can do like a 4x6, I have one right here somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. Can you tell I've been programming radios all week? You can, if you print and you laminate a frequency card, then you can hand those out to everybody in your group. You want to have printed and laminate, not in a sheet protector, laminate, if you can, laminate all of the dosage information for all of the different antibiotics and pills that you have. That way you know. And you have a reference that's in your kit all the time, so you don't have to try and remember that. And then the last thing you want is you definitely want a terrain map of your area. You can do it in 11x17. It's a direct 11x14, 11x17 is a direct size ratio to the MGRS maps and the terrain maps that you get from the government. If you have a few of those for your area, I would laminate them so you can write on them with the Sharpie. You can write on them with a whiteboard or a grease pen, and you have a map of your area. That way you know where all the terrain is. And I say that because you don't, even though you've lived there your whole life, even though you know the area, you still want to have a map so you know you can jot down, okay, these areas are hot spots, these areas have troops in them, et cetera, et cetera. So a good paper map that's laminated will take you a long ways. And I did a couple of shows on maps, and I did it from the high level, right? One of the things that if you can get an aircraft sectional and you can order them or download them, I order paper copies, but an aircraft sectional gives you all the altitudes for all of the peaks and all the towers and everything in your area, up to like 20,000 feet. So you know exactly how tall mountains are around you. So you know exactly where the mountain range starts, where waterways are. It doesn't show you highways. It shows you, IFR, instrument flight rules, IFR routes, which are in blue. They're blue lines, and they have a label on them. They're called, every IFR route has a name on it. But an aircraft sectional will give you all the altitude, all of the heights and altitudes for every hill and mountain around you up to 20,000 feet. So they can be very, very useful. And they can give you a good idea of what the terrain is in your entire area, because a sectional will cover either covers all of Phoenix, most of Arizona. It shows you where all the airports are. It shows you where all of the obstacles are. It shows you where it shows you the frequencies and everything else. So you know exactly what frequencies you need to reach out to for a lot of these private airports, so you can listen in. So there's a lot of different uses that you can get out of those. I use a program called ForeFlight. It sits on an iPad that I put in the airplane, and it gives me, it's got synthetic aperture, a synthetic aperture view, which has come in handy when I've gotten into fog banks. It's a pretty cool tool. But again, if we're grid down, how long do you think that's going to last? I mean, are you really going to burn cycles charging an iPad over and over and over again? I mean, I look at it as it's literally it's a time over money thing, right? It's how much time and energy am I going to spend on this, and what's the mileage I'm going to get out of it? Just go to paper. So, and I bring all this up because not just is Trump meeting Camp David, but if you're watching what's going on in Morocco right now, in the Spanish enclaves there, you're watching exactly what they want to do here. They want to flood our zone with all these illegals and let them rape, pillage, and plunder with no declaration of emergency. I mean, the Spanish president hasn't even declared an emergency yet. I mean, that's exactly what you're watching there is exactly what Michael Yon and I and Matt Bracken have all been talking about for 5 years. We saw this coming way back. We saw all the indicators. For those of you who don't know, Yon spent almost 3 years in the Darien Gap documenting and watching all of these invaders come through. But more importantly, he watched all of the NGOs facilitating all this movement. All those NGOs are still in place in Panama, every single one of them. So all of this is a dress rehearsal for what they want to do here. So everybody's saying it's going to be when Trump leaves office, blah, blah, blah. I think I don't think it matters who the renter in the White House is. I think this is part of the plan. Because this is a plan that's been in place for a very long time. It is highly sophisticated in the movement of people. They haven't turned off any of the NGOs. They haven't shut down any of the IMO, which is the Immigration Management Organization, which is down in Panama. And of course, they all sit on a former U.S. Army base. So all of that said, we're watching, just like we did with Sri Lanka. If you go back to Sri Lanka and you watched what they did in Sri Lanka, they crashed the economy. They had a massive amount of fraud. They had a massive amount of wasteful spending. They had incoherent agricultural laws. Does all that sound familiar to us right now? They're playing the same script out, and they're testing these all out in these micro labs, for lack of a better word, so they can roll it out to the rest of Europe and the rest of the U.S. So that's what we're watching right now. What's happening there is going to come here. And the question is, and this is why I talk about resilient communities, because the only people that are going to survive this are going to be communities that are working together and to defend their enclave and to defend their area and keep these people out. And Michael Yon was right. These people will kill you just for laughs. These are rough societies that they're letting in. And I saw all this stuff firsthand in the desert in 2004. I saw some brutal shit there. And, if you're a fan of Sharia law, let me tell you what I saw related to Sharia law. Every time they declared Sharia law, there was just a mountain of atrocities that were perpetrated against their own people. Like in Al-Naziriyah, they were drilling out people's eyeballs because they were coveting, or they were not wearing their full head, their full burqa. And that was just one place. They were doing that all over the country. They were doing it in Afghanistan too. So anyway, you're watching the same thing. And I don't have any illusions that they're not going to try and bring that here, or they're going to bring this here. So just pay attention. Watch what happens in Spain, and you'll see exactly what our government, you're watching the response that our government will have. And I think it's going to be, probably 28 or 29 when they try and pull out here, but we'll see. I definitely think they're going to wait until Trump leaves office, and then they'll start this shenanigans. And there's no aisle when it comes to this, right? The immigration issue has been around for 60 years, and they could have solved this very easily 60 years ago, but they don't want to solve it. And the current set of malcontents that are in Congress, they're not going to do anything. They're all making money off of it. And it shows you just how much these people hate their own country and how much they hate Americans. And they're supposedly representing us. It's amazing to watch. It It really is amazing to watch. The level of criminality is unbelievable. So, yeah, it is what it is. The thing that's going to be very interesting, especially in the next few weeks, is Trump actually going to commit forces to the ground in Iran. He's got to bring that. He's got to do something now. And this, whatever strategy they're using, supposedly there was a pretty contentious meeting at the White House about next steps in Iran. He was yelling at people. Again, I don't know if that's, I was reminded of that this morning. I don't know if that's real. So, and this story that came out of Israel yesterday about destruction of satanic images, there's 3 different reports on that say different things. So I don't know what the ground truth is there. I don't know if that's soldiers rebelling because they had these satanic pictures up, or if it's soldiers rebelling because the commanders had the satanic. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. RT was reporting one thing, and there was several reports on X that were conflicting to that. So I don't know what the deal is. So, yeah, problem, reaction, solution. Yeah, I that's exactly what it is. So, and you look, this is the thing about these events like the Spanish border collapse. This kind of stuff, this is why I say wait 48 hours, because within 24, all the shills come out and start posting things that are not real or not factual. Like the first thing that came out was Israel was behind this because they were because Spain was disparaging the IDF, and it's the U.S., the CIA, and Mossad are behind this, and Morocco's a Zionist state. There's no evidence of any of that. There's no concrete evidence of any of that. Is this in the CIA playbook? Yes, it is. Is this in Mossad's playbook? Yes, it is. But does that mean they're responsible for it? No, it doesn't. So, yeah. So wait 48 hours before you make a decision about what you think is real or not, and see what comes out in that time period, because you'll be amazed at how much information comes out within the first 24 hours that's garbage, and then you find out later. Like I was reading this morning that there's a prevailing thought across a lot of open source intelligence sources that the Fauci diaries are just a limited hangout, and they were released to steer a narrative. So that is very true. That is a very plausible explanation for some of the things I read in the diaries. Some of it I think was actually him, but you never know, right? Emails can be spoofed, IPs can be spoofed. There's a lot of things you can create out of thin air, especially now with AI, and it looks very, very real. So I don't know, but I know Fauci committed crimes. I know he laundered money. I know he needs to be held to account. I know all the doctors and the medical associations and the medical boards that strip doctors of their licenses, all of them need to be held to account. I think every doctor that pushed the vaccine, every doctor that was virtue signaling saying, I won't see you unless you get the vaccine, they all need to be held to account, every single one of them. And if that creates a shortage across our country of doctors, so be it. We'll retrain doctors that aren't indoctrinated into pharmaceutical because they're trained by the pharmaceutical companies, that literally, and the insurance companies and private equity have destroyed our healthcare system anyway. So I know I work for a healthcare company that was owned by private equity, and they had absolutely no moral compass whatsoever. And the amount of risk that they were introducing into the U.S. healthcare system, I can tell you exactly why the Chinese have physical and psychological profiles on everybody in the U.S., because they've been selling AI into the healthcare system, basically giving it away so they can collect the data. And you'd be surprised how much Chinese AI is in the medical system already, and it's because of private equity. And literally, I was on the phone with somebody from the private equity company that owned the company that I was working for, and they told me what they were doing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice right now. I'm out. This is way too much risk. You guys don't care about where the data is going. This is patient data going to China. That's massively, massively inappropriate. And it's a conflict of interest, and it's a national security issue. They're still doing it. So there you go. So watch closely what's going on in Spain. Let's see what comes out of this offsite meeting. And by the way, let me touch on the NDAA. I went back and did some research on the 2026 NDAA. And first of all, we need to keep the noise level up because they are paying attention. I was told that this morning. They are deathly afraid of the Americans, of the American public storming the Capitol building. They are deathly afraid of it because they've gotten over 10,000 credible death threats just since the Section 219 and 244 were announced. So they are definitely paying attention to the noise. So keep the noise level up on social media about stripping 219 and 244. Any language that has Israel in it, strip it out. Because in the 2026 bill, I don't think people remember, but they were going to give TRICARE to everybody in the IDF. And the American public made so much noise that they negotiated it out of the final version of the 26 NDAA. I anticipate that will happen here if we keep the noise level up. But don't expect that to get passed until probably late December. So that's going to be one of those hot button issues that you can't lift your finger off of. You got to keep the pressure on that. Because if we don't keep the pressure on that, they'll pass it in the middle of the night. I figured they'd do it this week. Nah, they're going to wait. They're going to wait because they want the American public to forget. They know that we have a limited attention span. They know we have a very finite memory. That's across the entire public spectrum. We have a very, very short memory, and they play on that all the time. We can't let any pressure up on this. This literally we have to keep the pressure up. Now, I checked this morning, and it hasn't even come to the floor for a vote, unless there's a recent development, but I don't think so. No, the only thing that's really out there is about the political races, which I could care less about. So, by the way, for all you folks on YouTube that are commenting, I can see your comments in StreamYard, but I can't reply to you. Don't ask me why. It's a feature. That's what it is. It's a feature. So, but I am seeing your comments. Let's see. Coming up on 30 minutes. I'm going to keep this at 30 minutes. I'm getting ready to post the bug out, contingency bag, because I hate that bug out bag name. I'm getting ready to post a contingency bag stuff on Substack. I'm going to post it to the website with the links. Same with everything else, the ham radio stuff, the supplement stuff, and then one other thing that I'm going to post out there is I'll post the ivermectin stuff. In fact, I'll do that before I post the bug out bag. Because there's like 3 videos already on Substack where I cover bug out bag and what's in them. The only thing I'm doing here is just posting the Amazon links, so you can order from the shit fairy and have it dropped off. So that's not a real big priority for me. The other thing is I'll be doing a live Substack show on Saturday, so look for that. If something happens over the weekend, I'll do another half an hour show. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday. But if you're a paid by the way, if you're a paid subscriber on, of course I don't have any coins here. If you're a paid subscriber on Substack, I send out I have a challenge coin. Hang on, let me grab that. Sorry about that. I have a challenge coin. It's front. Well, That's the front and then the advertising in the back. But if you're a paid subscriber, I've sent these. I still have some of the old ones left. I don't have a lot of them left, but the first one was green. It says this on the back. Yeah, it's terrible lighting. There. Anyway, that's the front. That's the front. So you get one of those if you're a paid subscriber. And if you're a paid subscriber, you can DM me anytime. I've been trading direct messages all day with people, and I may be a little bit slow over the next couple of days just because stuff going on with family. But feel free to reach out to me with questions if you're a subscriber on Substack. That's the best way to get direct message. I also have a Telegram channel called The Path Forward. I don't have the chat turned on, but you can usually find me either. You can find posts out there too, but the best way to get a hold of me is to DM me on Substack. Other than that, I will be back on Monday. If the world doesn't blow up, the zombie apocalypse doesn't happen, a solar flare doesn't nuke all of our critical infrastructure, I'll be back Monday. God bless. One team, one fight.